Radhe. Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. And very, very happy International Women's Day to everyone. Radhe, Nitinji, over to you.
Radhe, Pallaviji, thank you. Thank you, Vijayji, for a wonderful session. Trini Pushpani Santi is my takeaway today.
Very nice. Trini Pushpani Santi.
Trini Pushpani Santi. Thank you. Dhanyavadaha, and very happy Women's Day to everyone. We will get started. So with our today's session, hope you are getting time to catch some action on JKO Live. Some amazing speakers are coming in and wonderful lectures to get inspired from. We'll talk about the concept of male and females maybe in some future session. Today we will continue on our journey on Shloka 4.8. Go a little deeper. We introduced the concept. We looked at it. I mean, does God really need to descend and go through the grind of what he typically does in order to fulfill the purpose that he's stating in the shloka? And today we'll get deeper into that. So hope you're having a great start to your week and had a great weekend. I'm glad to be back every Monday, Tuesday morning for you, Monday evening for me. And always look forward to it. Mondays usually I don't look forward to, but I don't have that reason anymore. So welcome again, everyone. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Give me a sec. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
All right, we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurue Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's get started. We are on chapter 4, verse 8. I'll recite it and you are welcome to follow. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkrita dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. All right, do we have any volunteers with their cameras on?
Yeah, Radhe, Ashutoshji.
Radhe, Ashutoshji.
Please go ahead.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice, thank you, Ashutoshji.
Udayji, Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe, happy Women's Day to all.
Happy Women's Day.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice, thank you so much, Udayji.
Yeah, Radhe, Rupaji, please go ahead.
Radhe everyone.
Radhe.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice, Rupaji. Wonderful.
Radhe.
All right.
Actually, we cannot forget that tune. from her childhood, which we heard. So
Right.
it's a very lovely tune. Whenever we hear that, we just attracted to that.
Very true. So very true.
Yeah.
That is,
It's very captivating for sure. All right, let's take a few more hands.
yes. Radhe Radhe, Shamji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe Shamji.
परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Wonderful, very nice. Shamji. Okay, we can take few more hands. If we have new participants, you're welcome to do that too. The more the better, and we'll try to pick up the new ones, especially if there are any. Yes, go
Yes.
ahead, please.
Yeah. Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sumesh ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Paritrana साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Very nice, Sumesh ji. Thank you, and thanks for turning your camera on as well. Good to see you. All right, we can take few more. I can see.
Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe. Please
Radhe
go
Radhe
ahead.
Samji.
जी राधे राधे परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Samji. Thank you.
Yes, Neeta ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Neeta ji.
परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, ji. All right, we can
Yes.
take 2 or 3 more.
Prem Raj ji. Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Prem ji.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Prem ji.
Yes, sir. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya kacha dushkratam dharma sansthapanataha sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice, Prem ji. Where are you joining us from?
From Chennai, sir. Chennai,
Chennai.
India.
I've lived in Chennai for a while, Koturpuram. Yeah.
I'm staying in Tambaram.
Okay. The only word I learned in Chennai was Anj, not anything more than that. So when I ever had to negotiate with the auto people and they would ask for 10 rupees, then I will say more than 10 rupees, I'll say Anj, Anj, but I could not go beyond Anj there. So very nice. Thank you very much. We'll pick up maybe a few more.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, maybe we can pick up a couple of more hands and then we'll get started. 3 more we see and then we can get started.
Yes. Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go
Radhe Radhe
ahead.
Lakshmi ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Wonderful. Very nice, Lakshmi ji. All right, we'll really quick. We can pick up the remaining hands as well.
Yes. Sunil ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sunil
Please
ji.
go ahead, Sunil ji.
Radhe Radhe everybody.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji.
Radhe Sunil ji.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice, Sunil ji. Very nice. Radhe Radhe. Okay, 2 more and then we get started.
Yes. Riya ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Riya ji.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very
Radhe,
nice,
Radhe.
Ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we'll take the last hand for the day and
Yeah,
then we'll get
Kamlesh
started.
ji, Radhe Radhe. Thank
Radhe
you
Radhe,
for
Kamlesh ji.
waiting. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Yes, I was waiting for my turn. I thought that you are taking exam of my patience.
Sorry about
Radhe
that.
Radhe. परित्राणाय साधुमां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Very nice, Kamlesh ji. I hope that was well worth the wait. So wonderful.
Yeah.
I
All
got
right.
the chance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's get started. So today also we are going to discuss, we'll get really deep into the shloka today. Plus we will discuss, is there any formula to see God? If somebody says you can see God right in front of you, how nice it sounds, right? So is there a formula to see God? There are two choices really. One, become Arjun, get the divine vision from God, and then you can see him in his full glory. Or is there another way to see God? That's what Vivekananda had also asked his guru, and he said, yes, I can see him, feel him, touch him, like I can see you in front of my, that's such a mind-blowing concept. Anyways, we'll have a bit of a discussion on that as well. So let's get started with today's shloka. Paritranaya, to protect, sadhunam, the righteous, vinashaya, to annihilate, cha, and dushkritam, the wicked, dharma, the eternal religion, sansthapanarthaya, to re-establish, sambhavami, I appear, yuge yuge, age after age. Short translation, to protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to re-establish the principles of dharma, I appear on this earth, age after age. All right, let's do a quick recap. So there are three things God is saying in the shloka. He's saying to establish dharma. Then he says to annihilate the wicked. And the third one is saying to protect the righteous. We discussed about it that dharma is eternally described and God can re-establish it through a saint. There's no reason for him to in his personal form. The second one is to annihilate the wicked. Now God is all powerful. He's Satya Sankalp. He desires and things happen. He doesn't even have to lift his hand. He says the world is created. He doesn't have to say or lift his hand. He simply desires and the Prakriti starts doing its all the stuff. The entire nature unfolds and everything just manifests. That is how powerful God is. He doesn't have to really take an avatar to accomplish this if he has to kill the wicked. And the third one is saying to protect the righteous, that he can do, right, seated within our heart. There's no need to take an avatar. He can control us basically through Yogakshem. He can control us through inspiration and a lot of other ways. It really doesn't have to take an avatar for this purpose. So what is the real purpose then? Let's look at it. Let's go deeper into the shloka then today. So this was the literal meaning, and this is what the deeper meaning is. So literal meaning is there. Now let's get into the deeper meaning. So to establish dharma, when we talk about dharma, so God actually, when he descends, he provides soul with these six things: his name, form, pastimes, virtues, abodes, and associates, with the help of which they can engage in devotion, and it actually assists in purification of the mind as well. That much powerful each one of these entities. Now let's look at some examples here. You see Mirabai, we had Sant Tukaram, Narsi Mehta, Valmiki. All of them, they were able to elevate themselves, not because God was there. God had closed his pastimes, but then still they could do that. In case of Valmiki, yes, God descended, but he became so uplifted that he became Trikaldarshi. He could actually write down Ramayana even before the avatar took place. Tukaram, Mirabai, and Narsi Mehta, we have all, maybe we can go into their stories in another session. But then what did they use as a stepping stone for God realization? They used God's name. That is all they needed. They would just think about God, recite his name, and that itself made them fall in love with God. And how did it happen? It happened just because God, when he closes his pastimes, he gives these things to us to work with as a basis of devotion. Yes, Pallavi, you had something?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Nitinji. There is request to increase the volume. There are some people there unable to hear clearly.
Is it okay? Are you able to hear me now? Or is everybody experiencing?
I was also feeling the same, that the volume is low. I was trying to increase the volume and then I saw that, okay, it is.
Is it okay now? Is it breaking or was it low?
No, it is low.
Is it okay now or is it still low? Can somebody give me a feedback?
Now they are saying, yeah, many people are saying volume is still low.
Okay, so give me a sec. I will get headphones. Bear with me for the interruption. In the meantime, you can make the announcements. So just give me a sec. I'll get the headphones. That way we don't have that problem.
Yeah, still people are saying volume is low.
Okay, so I'll get the headphones. You can do the announcements in the meantime.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'm going to share the feedback tracker so that you all can go ahead and share your feedback about the class and your feedback, comments, discussion topics. So please go ahead and feel free to put in the feedback tracker. I'm just going to post the link over here. Apart from that, we all know that the International Women's Day Conference is going on. There are a lot of very famous, prestigious speakers lined up, and we can watch it live on radhakrishnatemple.net/live. I'm going to share the link so that you all can enjoy this great event. Let me please share the link. Give me just a moment. Apart from that, there's Holy Fest coming up, and I'm going to share the chat for, I'm going to share the link for Holy Fest. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful live concert, colorful events, dance, food, fair, and a lot of fun events. Let me share the link. Here you go. Please go and please visit these sites and get more information about the Holy Fest and the Women's Day Conference, which is going on. We can watch it live. And of course, the feedback tracker is there. So those are the highlighted events. Please do avail the events. All these events are of great benefit. And meanwhile, we can, sorry for this interruption, and I think it will be just for a quick moment, and then we will be able to resume the class.
Okay, sorry about that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. So my headphones, they got entangled with another one, but anyways, I'll not get too much into that. All right, so we were to establish dharma. We were talking about that. Now, as you can see, these saints, now because God closed his pastimes, but then God gives the names, forms, pastimes, virtues, abodes, and associates that gives us or enables us to form the basis of our devotion. And God puts all of his powers in each one of these, right? If we keep on simply reciting God's name with faith and remembrance, that itself will do its magic. That is how powerful it is. So building on to this, now we spoke about this concept of Swadharma, what is our duty, and we spoke about there are two aspects to it. One is the Aparadharma, which is related to the dharmas related to, at a bodily platform level. And 80,000 out of the 1 lakh mantras that we have in Vedas actually cater to this Aparadharma aspect of it, because majority of the people, till the time they develop a spiritual perspective, are only concerned about rewards around the spiritual practice that they do. And remaining 20% are bhakti and gyan kand. And that is where the paradharma comes. And within paradharma, if you look at it, the highest duty is to love and serve God with devotion. Now, how can you love someone and serve, someone with whom you cannot relate to or associate to? If you think God as an abstract entity, like in the path of Gyan Marg, is there a basis for us to love God or to fall in love with that light? No. Is there a basis for us to serve God? There is no basis for that. And that is where, when God takes on an avatar in his full glory as Bhagavan, and even after he closes his pastimes, he gives us these 6 things that we can work with. So when you do kirtans, that gives us a basis to not only recite God's names, but also to think about his leelas, his pastimes, his beauty, and a lot of other attributes. And he's actually made it easy for us in the sense that when we engage in these practices, it actually cleanses our mind. It has that cleansing effect, as we'll see in subsequent shlokas as well. And that is one of the major key or critical reason for God to take on an avatar when we talk about this concept. So that is the deeper meaning of this shloka. Furthermore, if you look at it, the biggest dharma, like we saw, the soul can engage is in devotion to God. And this is strengthened through an avatar. So when God descends, he reveals his divine forms and names, virtues, pastimes, abodes, and associates these 6 things. And it becomes an easy basis for the souls to establish that relationship. And we need something to focus upon our mind. Right? We are used to or attuned to forms, not abstract entities. And then when we have a form in front of us, and then we can talk about stories, like there are so many stories and kathas full of rasa of God. And when we do that, we simply listen that, we devour that nectar through our ears, and then engage our mind in that. It actually has a cleansing effect. It helps cultivate those sentiments and that love for God. And with the formless, you cannot do that. Right? If you think about light, how can you build a relationship or have any sentiments towards light? So it becomes very difficult from that sense. And that is why when God takes on an avatar in his Bhagavan form, Saguna Sakar form, it actually, long after God has closed his pastimes, it still keeps on helping all the devotees through what he has left for, in terms of what we can contemplate upon, what we can think about, what we can hear, what we can talk about. So a lot of material is given to us for devotion. So that is one of the primary reasons for God to take on an avatar. And also, more importantly, he also reveals his true nature. If you look at it, through his Leela, he's actually giving us, revealing his true nature to us as well. That he, although for all his almightiness, he can actually be enslaved through love. If he had not done those Leelas with Yashoda Maiya or with his friends, how would we ever come to know that God can actually be enslaved? No, we would never have been able to do that. So that's another reason that God gives us things that we can comprehend and we can follow, and it's easy for our minds to engage in. So that was the first aspect. So continuing on, so if you look at it, Lord Krishna, he came 5,000 years ago. Like I said, the Purna avatar happened 5,000 years ago. It was not through a Vishnu avatar. It's in 7th Manvantara of the 28th Kali Yuga it happened. And long after he closed his pastimes, the billions of souls, they have made his leelas as the basis of their devotion and purified their minds, continue to purify their mind. In fact, if you look at these serials which came, um, I think the Ramayana, it came in 1987. And when this show would, go, the country would come to a standstill. And even 33 years after it was first aired in 2020, when I think in April it was aired again because of COVID, when people were stuck at home, it actually broke the record. And I think there were about 7.7 crore people who watched it. And it broke the record for the previous best. I think it was for Game of Thrones, the finale or the final episode. And I think it was 19.3 million, which is less than 2 crores, which is less than 3 times of what Ramayana. So there is an inherent craving to watch, God's leelas and those stories people can so simply relate to. Same thing with Mahabharata as well. And they are timeless, as you can see. So much of interest was there. And that was watched globally, not just in India, and it broke the record, which was pretty fascinating. Even in these times, people have so much interest for Katha of God. And if he had not taken on an avatar or descended in his Bhagavan form, then this would not have happened. So that is the the beauty of avatar, or why God takes avatar, so that even when he's gone, you have a for basis to do your devotion and keep progressing until you perfect your devotion. Like I said, yeah, billions of souls they kept on. And then Ramayana says, Rama ek tapasatiyatari nam koti khala kumati sudhari. So in his descension period, which lasted for about 11,000 years, Lord Ram helped only Ahilya, who was one of the Panchakanyas, by the way. Sage Gautam's wife. There's a story for that as well. She was turned into stone because Indra pricked her, and then she was cursed by Sage Gautam to become a stone. And when Lord Ram came, he relieved her of that curse. So in his 11,000 years, he only helped one soul during his avatar time. However, after his avatar, just chanting the name of Ram, right? Sita Ram, Ram Ram. So many fallen souls have elevated themselves. How did it happen? Just because of his avatar. The fact that he came down in Sagun Sakar Swarup actually helped souls to elevate themselves. So that is the power of God's avatar. That was the first one. The second one is, okay, now it actually goes back to the same principle. We spoke about these principles when we discussed a bit of a deity worship. Now, which principle it follows? Even when you, let's say, you are listening to a katha with a lot of devotion, maybe you're watching Ram, and then having those sentiments that, hey, it is Ramji, and actually having divine sentiments, even though the object or the person that you are seeing is material. The beauty is that it goes by the first principle. Seeing divinity in the divine gives a divine result. We know that. Second principle is loving the divine without awareness of his divinity also gives a divine result. So these two are, and the third principle is loving material things with a divine sentiment gives a divine result. So when you listen to a katha, when you are building those divine sentiments that yes, Lord did that, and this is what he did, and then this Leela, how beautiful it is. So that is actually divine. When somebody recites a Ramayana to you, Ramcharitmanas or anything, it is actually divine. And you are building divine sentiments, it will give you the divine result. And the third principle, even if you're looking at a story, you know that this is just an actor who's doing an acting, but you're building those sentiments that, wow, God was so powerful. He did such a noble thing. When you start building those sentiments, that also gives you a divine result. This is the third principle that we have spoken about. Same principle applies to deity worship as well. Deity in itself is material, but when we start building divine sentiments, even though the object might be material, it will still give you a divine result. That is the mercy of God who has enabled it, because he's seated within. Right? Ramayana says, Prabhu Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. He is present everywhere, including your heart. So, first of all, the deity or the thing that you're saying, God is residing in them as well. And at the same time, he's residing within you as well. So, when that sentiment is nurtured, harbored, or there is an endeavor made to cultivate that sentiment or to feel that way, you get divine results. That is how easy God has made it for us. And the fourth principle is that when you love worldly things with worldly sentiments, obviously we get material result. And that is one of the chief cause for us to keep on repeating in this world, because that is where we get hung up. We are loving world with the worldly sentiments, and that will give a material result only. So if we continue getting attached to things around us, material things, the sentiments will be material, but of course, so that will give us the material results, which means we'll keep on repeating in this world. So in this particular case for avatar, the first and third principle apply. So let's move on with the second one, deeper meaning. The second was to annihilate the wicked. Now let's look at who are these wicked whom God annihilates. Jai Vijay. So a lot of you might already be knowing it. So when God comes, it's like when he has to do a full Leela, he chooses his villains also come along with him. And those villains whom he chooses to kill through his own hands are not ordinary people. They are already realized saints who have taken upon the role of a villain as part of this Leela. So these Jai Vijay were actually Narayan's Dwarpals who were cursed by these 4 Kumars. And then when they were cursed, because they did not let them in, so they cursed them to go to Mrityulok. And I think they were given a choice. Three births in Mrityulok as villains, demons, or 7 as saints. And they chose 3, possibly because they know in Mrityulok there are so many issues, right? More recently, COVID and global warming and those kind of things. So they said, all right, we'll take upon the role of villains for 3 lifetimes and we'll close that. So first, let's starting with Satyug. In Satyug, these 2 Dwarpals, they came in as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashyap. Then after Satyug, in Treta, they came as Ravan and Kumbhakaran. And then in Dwapar, they came in as Shishupal and Dantwantar, I believe, yeah. So these were the 3 avatars they took, and they said, okay, we are done with it now. So they were actually Jai Vijay, not ordinary people. And, nobody has names anybody Kumbhakaran or Ravan in their home, and there's a reason for that. So that is when these souls, they come and take on that role, they go to the extremities just so that they can prove to be an honorable match for the God. Not an honorable, but at least something that God would get glorified, that wow, how powerful they were. So they were like that. And then after they are killed, they anyway belong to his divine abode only. They are sent back to that abode. So annihilate the wicked. This is the actual concept. So wicked are not ordinary people who actually descend down to actually glorify Lord at that point. The third one, God says, is to protect the righteous. Now let's look at this concept. Now in this, like when God takes avatar, there are souls. Like for example, if we start practicing, we spoke about all those bhavs, all the way from Shanta Bhav all the way up to Madhurya Bhav. So let's say we continue progressing in one of those bhavs, and when we reach a tipping point, almost there in perfection, then God may give us an opportunity to participate in one of his avatars. So those souls, fortunate souls, they get that opportunity to meet God face to face and perfect their devotion. And then secondly, God comes with his, the gang or paraphernalia, so to say. Even when a president goes somewhere, he comes with his own set of people, right? So those souls also get an opportunity to be part of his pastime as well. So like gopis, there were some materially bound gopis who got their first chance to meet God and perfect their madhurya padhurya bhav, and at the same time there were already realized souls who participated uh, as cowherd women and ordinary souls um, during his pastimes in Vrindavan. So this is the third one, who get an opportunity. So protect the righteous. So those righteous people who have already at the tipping point, they get an opportunity to participate and then perfect and then be part of his divine abode eternally. They may choose to come down again as part of his pastime, or they may choose not to. Both options are available to them at that point. So this is the deeper meaning of the shloka. Now with that, I wanted to have just a little bit of discussion because I have one more slide to cover. Now, there is a good possibility that we have also seen God and his Leelas. Why then we could not perceive him? See, we have, like he said, we have had infinite lifetimes before. It's not our first lifetime. And there's a very good possibility we have also seen God. And in fact, possibly might have been part of his pastimes as well. Still, we could not perceive him. And in fact, if he comes right in front of us, we may not be able to perceive him. Why is it that happens? Let's get that going a little bit and then we'll move on. Why we could not perceive, and is that formula to see God and feel his presence is another question I wanted to say. So let's hear from participants and get this going before we move further.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Preeti ji.
Radhe Radhe, Preeti ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe, Pallavi ji, and everyone. I think we are not, I'm not 100% surrendered to him, and that is why I cannot perceive him. And same goes the answer for the question, the formula to feel his presence. Again, the 100% surrender without a single question. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point. Yes, 100% surrender. Yes, and that will lead to. Let's continue with this discussion. Great point, Preeti ji. We'll come to that. Yes.
Yes, Swati
I can see
ji.
one more hand.
Radhe
Yes,
Radhe.
Swati ji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
What Kripalaji Maharaj ji says that we were there every time we were there, but the problem was that we lacked the devotion, that bhakti and that bhav, like for Ram on seeing that he had that bhav that he is the God. That feeling we didn't have, that devotion we didn't have. That's why we could not get attracted to God when he was in his presence. Sorry.
Very true. They're all interrelated concepts, in fact. Yeah, we'll get to that. Beautiful point, Swati ji. Yes, I can see one more hand.
Yes, Pragya ji, Radhe
Yes,
Radhe.
Pragya,
Please go ahead. Pragya ji.
Did we lose Pragya?
Yeah, let me quickly see. Somehow I lost Pragya ji.
Let's move on to.
Yeah, Pragya ji, please raise your hand one more time. Yeah, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitin, Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji. Such a beautiful and profound topic. Bhagwan bhi anant kal se hai, God is eternal, and we also souls are eternal throughout the time. Still, we have never been able to perceive him or see him whenever God has descended. And leave God even Guru. Like I had the good fortune to meet Maharaji, but I did not have the knowledge. So sitting right in front of him, I didn't know kiske samne baithe hain. And the floodgates opened after I came back, and then I started exploring like crazy. So hamari pehla knowledge. Second, we are such an impure, diluted souls was just not able to see beyond our limited perception. Our vision itself is blurred, mired in Maya. So till we reach that consciousness of purity, we will not be able to see God in any janam, in any of his descension. So yeah, a lot of work lies within. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point. Very nice. In fact, tomorrow, I was wondering what topic to pick up this Tuesday. So we'll pick up the topic of Maya, you said, right? Because of Maya, our mind is that. So why Maya there? Okay, what purpose Maya is serving here? And why did God create Maya to begin with? We'll have a good discussion on that topic tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that because it's a pretty profound topic. I've struggled with that question for a while as well. Why Maya to begin with, if it is so difficult to conquer? And it is his own energy, like Lord Krishna is saying that in Bhagavad Gita. So we'll pick up on that topic tomorrow and have a deep discussion around as well. I can see a couple of other hands. Let's hear from
Yes.
them. And Pragati, great point. We have actually seen God, but until we overcome our imperfections and that impurity that we are carrying, we'll not be able to. Otherwise, it's like he's standing right next to us basically, the moment we are ready for it. Yes, let's hear from a couple of other hands and then we'll
Yes.
proceed further.
Premraj-ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Premraj.
Nitinji, we are unable to perceive God because our mental frequency is not in line with that of the devotional frequencies. It is only when we align ourselves with the devotional frequency, we will be able to perceive those divine things, including the presence of God. Just like if we want to watch a particular channel in the TV, we have to tune in the TV to the frequencies of that particular channel. I think the same thing applies here also.
Yep. And that tuning or raising the antenna is called sadhana.
We have to purify our mind to get qualified, purify our soul rather, to get ourselves qualified to feel the presence of God.
Yep, great point. Beautiful, very nicely summed up, Premraj-ji. We'll build on that. Let's hear from other participants as well.
Yes, Padma-ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Padma-ji.
Nitinji, just sorry for the interruption. I have posted 2 questions in the chat box.
Okay.
If it is possible, you can answer those things.
Sure. Let me, Pallavi,
Yes,
can you
I
please?
can just take a look at the
Raj is my name.
Yes, one question is, can we nullify our bad karmas by doing punyas? If not, then what is the role of prashchita? And there is second question, if one has to bear his karmas, then how come ancestral sins are passed on to their next generations?
Who said that ancestral sins are passed to their next generations? At least I was not aware of that concept. It is said that, I think there was a saint, right? I forgot that story, when he got to know that he's spending time working for his family, kids and everybody. And when he goes to his wife and say, will you share my sins? She said, no, why should I share your sins? So he had that revelation. It's our own journey. We don't share our sins or punyas with anybody. There's no transfer, like you can transfer leaves in corporates. There's no such concept as far as I know. The prashchit aspect, I don't know if it truly works. I think Jyoti ji explained the other day, we have to bear our papas and punyas separately. There's no cancellation policy around that, but I may be wrong. I may have to dig a little more onto it. But see how many prashchits we can do in life. We have done infinite sins. So the game plan is not to prashchit. Yes, if we do austerity and we deepen that concept in our mind, it helps. But the better way is to nullify or burn off your karmas through surrender. God says that I'm going to burn them off. Otherwise, statistically, it is impossible to do infinite prashchit and then hope that we have not added any more papas to our backlog. It's very difficult to do that. So better than prashchit, it's better to develop a devotional heart and perfect our surrender. That is a better game plan as opposed to thinking that we'll do prashchit infinite times and burn off our infinite karmas. It's statistically impossible to do that. But yes, prashchit helps in the sense that we have a deeper realization and it's a bit of an austerity of mind that we are doing. To that end, it might be helping, but does it help nullify something? I'm not sure about that. I'll have to check it out.
How about
Seema-ji
ancestral
has
sins, sir?
Sorry?
How about ancestral sins? It is said that our ancestors.
I don't know about that concept, to be honest. I know that if If you have a bhakt in your family who's God realized, your 7 generations are taken care of. But then God has a perfect algorithm to have a person born in your family who's a God realized soul only if your ancestors have done enough punyas. Like, for example, in case of Prahlad, his father was Hiranyakashipu, was again demon, like I said, Jai Vijay, right? Avatar. So those kind of algorithms can work, but do we take sins of our ancestors or can we take them along? I don't know. I'll have to check with Swamiji on that question, to be honest. I don't know about that. As far as I know, it's our individual journey. Nobody's can transfer their papa or punyas to each other.
Okay. Thank you so much.
But nevertheless, I will check it for you to get an answer from a bona fide source, because my understanding might be limited to this one.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much.
No worries. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, thank you for waiting, Padmaji. Please go ahead.
Yes, Padmaji, Radhe Radhe.
So the first question is why it doesn't happen, right? So for that vision to happen, I think our vessel needs to be pure without any holes. And that's how I see it. Not just pure, but with so many holes that we have. And that holes for each of us could be so many different things. And to fill those holes, there are so many tools that God has given, the names and the pastimes and all those things. So I feel like it's a 3-step process. Not only we need to understand how to use those tools and then use them for the right reasons to cleanse your mind. And then the third stage is to actually experience the beauty of the God. So you have to go through those baby steps and 3 steps, I feel, to even have that faith how to use those tools, and then to actually use them to cleanse your mind, because just using is not enough. I feel you really have to have that conviction to cleanse your mind in your thoughts and cleanse your mind in your actions. And the last thing is allow yourself, be vulnerable to God, at least be vulnerable to God, to show him your weaknesses so that he allows you to experience him. And you have to be vulnerable for that so that he gives you that grace to actually experience him in the way that you cannot explain but only can experience. So that's how I see it. Obviously, if I start talking, I can talk for like another 10 minutes, but there is a process where you have to be vulnerable to show him that you're weak and you don't know how to use the tools. You're struggling with those tools. You don't know how to cleanse your mind. Then you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, at least with God, and say, give me that strength to go through this process. So you have to be courageous enough to be vulnerable and to get to that state of awareness, that uniformity and oneness with God. And you will experience those bits and pieces, and those little holes that you have in the vessels, they get healed or closed. And as you progress, it will eventually get closed.
Great point. I like the vulnerable part. In fact, that's essentially what Sri Maharaj says as well, that vulnerable, who's vulnerable? A kid is vulnerable. Why? Because he can't do anything himself, and he has that acceptance, right? He relies completely on his mother. Kid is completely nirashrit, and that's where mother takes care of it. And similarly, God says that you come to me with an innocence of a kid and leave aside all the support system that you think you have is going to help you out, including yourself, and that he's more than happy to help us out on that. So yes, nirashrit, and with that kind of a mindset, with humility, nirashrit, these are all the symptoms when we start advancing in devotion, for sure. Great point. Wonderful. Let's hear from other participants as well. In fact, surrendered state is, if you look at it, surrender, what is surrender? It's very beautifully explained by Sri Maharaj. He says that surrender is a state where you don't have to do anything. Basically, you don't have to do anything. Everything is done by God. But for you to reach a state of doing nothing, you have to do a lot of things. So to reach that state, obviously, we have to do a lot of things in our mind and letter and in spirit and a lot of contemplation. That's when we get to a state of doing nothing. And that is essentially what surrender is. All right, let's hear from other participants and then we'll
Yes,
move on.
Sunilji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe, Sunilji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, Radhe Radhe, everyone. I, from my perspective, since we are in the materialistic world, and at least I have not yet developed that eye to actually perceive or see God. there is this one line which is from one of the Hindi songs, which actually, kind of, gives me goosebumps when I actually, try and relate it. Is saying that Tere Jamal se roshan hai kainat meri. This universe, which is enlightened for me, would not exist without you being there in me.
Yeah.
And every time I see something beautiful, something beautiful in nature or something beautiful in some persons, this line just keeps on getting iterated in me, and that's my way of perceiving him in a humble way.
Very nice. No, that's a great way of bringing in humility and seeing things in perspective. Anything that can help us do that, we just need to latch on to that. Thank you for sharing that, Sunilji. Beautiful point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
Rahulji.
Yes,
Radhe
Rahulji.
Radhe. Please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I think the
Radhe.
only formula to see the God is to have the divine vision, and which can be only done when the grace of God and Guru is there upon us.
Yeah.
And when we have surrendered completely and have that eligibility criteria of the perfect vessel, where that Swarup Shakti can be there.
Swarup Shakti Yukt. Yeah, we have to become Swarup Shakti Yukt and gain that eligibility basically. Yeah.
And I think for feeling his presence, like Maharaj Ji always tells that we need to realize that wo andar baithe hain. He's everywhere. So that is how we can feel the presence. There is no other way. We have to have that contemplation in the mind, because everything is from that mind.
Beautiful.
And the thing he says, Nand ke poot ka bhoot sawar ho jaye. When that state comes, then yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Great point, Rahul, as always. Yes, Radhe Radhe. And I think Swamiji explains it beautifully as well, that we have to deepen this feeling. Two things, that he's my witness and he's my protector both. So that feeling has to be solidified over a period of time. And like we spoke about this practice of putting our triggers, right? Every 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever works for us. At least a quick reminder, maybe just think about it and again get back to work. And over time, keep on deepening that feel that yes, he's with me, he's protecting me, and he's watching me all the time. And that itself will start, building that consciousness that is needed to actually start feeling his presence. So great point, Rahul. Thank you so much. Let's hear from other. So we'll continue with this discussion. So this is what the scriptures say, right? If you have love of God, you are qualified to see God every moment. So if you can develop love for God, then you can actually, so it says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. When one's eyes are smeared with ointment, the love of Godhead, that clear eyes. So it's like when you have cataract, you cannot see, but when the cataract is removed, you can easily see. And the cataract right now is the lack of love. Why lack of love? Because we don't have faith. Why we don't have faith? Because we don't have knowledge about God. It's just like the more knowledge we had about anything, the more faith and love we develop towards that thing as well. It's just like an odd example that Shimaraj ji gives. There's a woman who finds an anguthi, a ring on the road. So she thinks, okay, must be 25, 30 rupees, bucks. Doesn't matter wherever I put it. And she just puts it somewhere. And one day, one jeweler comes. And one in a million, what if few people can actually understand? Even if you're wearing diamond, you will not be able to make out whether it's a real diamond or a unreal diamond. And this Johari comes and say, hey, this looks like a precious stone. And the moment she heard, really, and her love developed, her eyes wide opened, and her love developed for that stone. She said, how much worth you think it might be? He said, must be around 50 lakhs or so. Really, now her love has increased even more about that particular ring. But she said, okay, now who's going to work? Who needs to work for this, few thousand rupees? I'm going to get 50 lakhs. But she said, let me take a second opinion. She goes to another jeweler. She says, what do you think about this stone? And this guy said, really, this stone is so precious. It must be at least 60, 70 lakhs. Now it was confirmed. All of a sudden, that same ring, which she had no value for, because she didn't know what it is, her love has developed. So with knowledge, love automatically follows. When you start understanding something is so beneficial for me, the love will automatically come. The fact we are not able to develop love is because we do not have proper knowledge, or even if we have proper knowledge, some knowledge, we have not deeply contemplated about it, that our swarth, what we have been seeking, will actually be fulfilled by this priceless, not even precious, priceless thing that we are carrying within, God. That's essentially what it is. We can't offer anything to God at all, right? God says, the entire world is my creation. It's my playground. What can you offer to me? Nothing other than giving our mind and intellect and love. They say love is the only thing we can offer to God. We have absolutely nothing that already doesn't belong to him or energized by him to begin with. So because of our conditioned state, we have love for material things around, and we'll talk about it. Why this Maya, right? Maya is troubling us, and Maya is making it so difficult for us. We get attached to things around us. We'll talk deeper about that concept tomorrow. What is this whole Maya game? And we move, the more we move about towards this devotional and the manifestation of love. How does love manifest? See, when you love somebody, what do? You simply sit and watch that person? No, you want to do something for that person. It manifests in form of devotional service. It's just like that cataract. When that cataract is removed, we start having that realization, that perception, that feeling. That is what our scriptures tell us. So it's like, just like when people give an argument, especially the younger generation, how do I believe in God? I don't believe in God. So our saints, our scriptures give you a process. Okay, if you want to feel God, if you want to perceive God, there is a process to be followed. Right? Do the antakarana shuddhi, do this practice, and then if you don't see God, reject it. There is no God. Without following the process, we cannot reject it. It's just like you have ghee or clarified butter in milk, but can you see it? No. Can you reject it? No. There's a process to see that. You make yogurt, churn it, and then make butter out of it, and then heat it, and clarified butter will come out. Similarly, in order to see God, which is Sarva Vyapak, still we don't perceive it. There is a process. If you follow the process, that abhas will start coming in. We may not be able to see God immediately, but that abhas will be so strong that you will say, yes, something is happening. And people, there might be advanced sadhaks here, they say that, it's just like a translucent glass where you see, okay, I saw him and I'm going to see him. That faith, nishtha, starts developing. That, okay, I just missed him. I just saw him, almost saw him. And next time I'm definitely going to see him. That nishtha starts coming in. It's real, okay? It's not fictional, it can happen. Now let's get back to our discussion and hear from our remaining participants on the same topic.
There are a couple of questions in chat, Nitinji.
Sure.
Yeah. So Ramya ji has asked question, if one takes God's name casually or without faith, does he still get devotion like a Jamil?
No, Ajamil's story is pretty fascinating. No, that when he said Narayan, he actually referred to his son, and Yamduts had an argument around that. Did he really think about God? But he got that point. Okay, maybe God wanted to show him that. So if you're calling somebody Narayan, and it refers to your neighbor's son or your own son, the sentiment behind it is what you get credit for, not just the name. But yeah, I mean, something is better than nothing. You can say that, but it's the remembrance and the relation is important, right? Otherwise, you will get the effect. Like I said, now you're thinking about a divine name. Basically, you're not thinking about. You're actually having a material sentiment. So that is the result you get. That fourth principle we spoke about. You are actually thinking about a material object, and with a material sentiment. So you'll get a material result. But if you think about a material thing in a divine sentiment, you'll get a divine result. So same principle. It'll be driven by the principles that we discussed.
Yeah, well explained. Thank you, Nitinji. When we're talking about principles, there are questions from Lakshmi ji about the principles. Would you please explain the first two again, please?
All right, it will be my extreme pleasure to do so. Let me go back. Yeah, so you can take this. These are the first principle is seeing divinity in the divine gives a divine result. So if God comes in front of you and you know that it is divine, so you are seeing divine in front of you, knowing that it is God, obviously it will give you a divine result. That is why people like Hanuman, he knows Ram is divine and he's having that sentiment towards him, so he's getting divine result. The second one is loving the divine without awareness of his divinity also gives a divine result. Shubhnakha, classic case. She fell in love with Ram. She found him so attractive, but she did not know he's actually God. What result should she get? Okay, her nose was taken, but in next birth, she got that divine result, that Kubja. Krishna actually married her. It's not so easy for people to actually fall in love with God. She might have had some sanskars, but she got the divine result, even though she did not know about the divinity of God. So God is like a philosopher's stone, paras patthar. Whether you do it knowingly, unknowingly, with anger, with love, if you touch it, it will turn it to gold. That is how powerful God or God name is. Third one is loving material things with divine sentiments gives a divine result. Deity worship. Material, it is a stone, it's a deity. There's nothing divine about it, but God is present everywhere. But if you're harboring divine sentiments, it will give you a divine result. Like so many stories where Dhanna Jat, the deity manifested in front of him like Lord himself. That big kid's story where he would worship God and offer food to him, and God will come and eat it because he was so pure at heart. Fourth principle, we don't need to explain, that happens in our world. Right? We love world. Our mind is hung up with worldly things. We're infatuated with the world, and that is why we get material results. So hopefully now it's clear.
Thank you. Yeah. I can take Sandhya ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. So this is regarding that only, that how to connect and see God. I mean, everyone has said this, and maybe I'm reiterating, but my own version of it, that we have to build a strong relationship with God. And one way is to contemplate happiness in God and God's activities. And then we can get attached. And once we are attached, then, whether it's a happy thing or a sad thing in our life, we would want to share with God, like what we do with our friends or anyone, And I think we will not feel lonely, and we will have God by our side always.
Wonderful.
And this also requires us to have faith, but these things have a feedback, I guess. So it happens. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And when we do that practice, like I said, the abhas will reinforce the fact that yes, now you're getting some power, some strength from within. That is how powerful. In Narad Bhakti Darshan, it says you will get a proof, like the proof of salt in food. It's not a hocus pocus stuff that you're talking in air, and you start practicing it, and if it doesn't happen, it'll basically, you'll understand how it works. You'll get that faith automatically. You just have to take that first step and start building on it. And yes, and the strength that you will feel, it will be immense. That fearlessness that will start coming in, that lack of anxiety, lack of all those things that don't make sense around you, all of a sudden things will start settling down. And that empowerment itself is so strong that will tell you, oh wow, I have it's like if you're carrying a lot of wealth with you, right? Money we associate a lot of importance to. If somebody is a millionaire, they have that aura about them. So yes, I have something. Here you have God, and you have started realizing it. Okay, he's my companion, he's my witness, he's my protector. Just imagine how liberating, how empowering it could be. And God is all there, with both his hands, willing to embrace us the moment we take our first step. That is how powerful it is. Beautiful point. And just start building. See, it's like they say, people, they gamble on so many things. Like in life, we do that. We take chances in our life. And we have gambled on this world since time eternity. Why not gamble on God for a change and see what happens? Right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Just gamble once and see. Otherwise, what will happen? What do you stand to lose? World is anyway there, right? All those people that we are so hung up with, that is anyway waiting for you. They're not going anywhere. And in material world, they say the graph is like this. When you are trying to achieve something, it will be painful. It's not easy to acquire something. We know that through our experience. Right? If we have to build a big house or get a car or get a good job, we have to put in effort. Maintaining it is a pain, right? Then you start getting insecure. What if it is snatched away and this and that, and then keep on. And then losing it gives us a pain as well. But still we keep on repeating the same cycle. With God, everything is beneficial. The process is beautiful. Having his association is beautiful. And there's no, part, what you call that? Yeah. that, okay, God is going to leave me. That will only get better with time. So great point,
Yeah,
Sandhya. Let's hear from
beautiful.
other participants as well.
Yeah, Seema ji, she mentioned in the chat about the second principle, saying with sentiment or not counts, then no question of ambiguity. I saw Seema ji hand raised, but now I don't see her. Maybe.
Yes, Seema ji.
Yeah, Seema ji, are you
Yeah,
there?
let's.
Yeah, sorry if you had to wait for quite some time. Yeah, please go ahead and explain. I think I missed it. Yeah.
Sure, we can really quickly take. I know we are over time, which I don't want to take a lot of your time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Radhe. So I wrote it down here. We need faith to see God through the eyes of the mind and heart, and not the external material eyes. His presence can be felt with one's intuition and yearning for love. For example, Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda were not recognized or identified by locals that surrounded them and dismissed them as higher souls who took birth to show humanity that God is only one, but the paths to reach him are many.
Mm-hmm.
And punya does not cancel pap. Karmas have to be born, no exceptions.
yeah, there are parallel streams they go. So that's what I understood as well. Beautiful, Seema ji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Seema ji. Tejal ji has also mentioned the same thing. Radhe Radhe, you need to have intense hunger for God.
Beautiful, Tejal ji. Good to have you on the session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There's so many messages in the chat. I'm sorry if I'm not able to read all of them.
You can take a screenshot and
Yeah.
send it out. Okay.
Yeah,
I do that.
I can do that. Yes.
But
Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, did you unmute?
yes,
Yeah.
Annapurna ji.
Did yeah. You know, I just wanted to answer for the earlier question, you know, how come we have not recognized the God, you know. I remember Swamiji's one time telling that we may be all born, but because of different modes of nature, you know, we might not have seen divinity in them. You know, just like Duryodhana, you know, Krishna showed Virata Rupa to him, whereas Arjuna saw it, you know, recognized Krishna, you know, and surrendered to him, you know. But whereas Duryodhana wanted to put him in the cell or something. So I think it is because of our different mode of nature, you know. I don't know, maybe we have behaved with mode of passion or tamas or something, you know. I
Very
think
true.
that might be the cause for not recognizing divinity, even though we were in the midst of God in many previous births, perhaps.
Yep,
Yeah,
very true.
that's what I just wanted to say. That, you know.
Very true. In fact, it is
Otherwise,
said.
we wouldn't have born, you know, now. If we had seen divinity, we wouldn't be, born now. That is why we are repeating. Thank you,
Thank you,
Radhe,
Annapurna ji.
Radhe.
Great point. Yeah. Even if you put pure milk and the vessel is not proper, it will curdle. You'll not be able to enjoy the milk in its full glory. So when the vessel is not clean, it doesn't matter what you put in it. Okay, we can take a few new hands if we have.
Yes, Shruti ji.
Yes, Shruti. Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nathan,
Radhe
Radhe Radhe
Shruti.
Pallavi ji. Okay, can I see the question, please?
You want to see the question or?
Yes, please.
All right. Is there a formula in this presence?
Okay, is there a formula to see the God and feel His presence? I don't know. Maybe I think that we have to till the ground for the seed to sprout. If we don't till the ground, then there's no hope to see the tree or eat its fruit, enjoy its fruit. So till the ground, you know, by taking His name, till the ground, devote yourself, your time to God.
Beautiful.
And I have a question, Nitin.
Sure.
if there is someone who says something which is not right about God, or says that they don't believe in God, let's say Ram, because what he did to Sita, right? We know that it's a Leela and we can't comprehend. But if someone else is saying it, so is it right to correct them, or just let them take their own time? Because I am not there at your spot. I may confuse them more. So is it right to just stay quiet, or just
So yeah, this is my take on it.
mhm.
We really can't see. We cannot get defensive or get into an argument with somebody on these topics. Now, if somebody says that, I would first ask that person, what makes you think that Ram actually did that? What tells you that? Right? What will be the answer? Ramayana says that.
Sorry, I can't hear. Sorry, can't hear you.
Somebody,
There's a disturbance.
if you can put yourself on mute if you're not talking. Is it okay now? You are okay. You are also gone on mute. Was the disturbance on your end? I don't know.
I think so, because
Yeah, Shruti, I think there was some disturbance on your end, possibly. See, the first thing is people say Krishna was loafer, used to go around girls and do all that stuff. Now, the same Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita as well. You have to first understand that, okay? And when you are eligible, you will understand his other leelas also. Now, who said Ram did that? That he, sat behind a tree and killed Bali, or asked Sita Maiya to go there? Who says that? Ramayana says that. Same Ramayana also says that God, he was God. And our scriptures say God is perfect and his leelas are perfect. So in due course of time, it will make sense. You first understand, build the basis for it. You cannot know when you are out on a 2-mile journey with a lantern, see the first 20 steps, you reach there, see the next 20, and next. You cannot have all the answers. So some of the things will make sense in due course of time. Right? God evens out his leelas. His leelas are perfect like himself. With our, it is said, right, 2 fingers worth of intellect, if we start dissecting God, it will only lead us to confusion, namaparad, and lack of devotion, which is not helpful. But just by you saying or telling them or getting defensive is not going to help them. It is their own journey. And the day it will click. First, they have to take the baby steps toward in having devotion. Without devotion, you cannot understand God. Do you have devotion?
It's not that he doesn't believe in God, but sometimes just, someone,
I know.
if they get
But what? Okay, then what happened after?
aggressive, then should I clear it, or just let it pass?
No, let it pass. No point in getting into. This is the first
Yeah,
thing we
because
need to
they
refrain
are
from.
older, and I don't want them to take it to ego. So
We don't.
even if I
Rama,
know it, it feels bad that I know it and I'm not passing the knowledge.
No, I will tell you a story of, I think it was Ramakrishna Paramahansa's story or somebody, one of the saints' story only. There was a guy who used to debate a lot on topics, spiritual topics. So this guy, he comes and he wants to do a Shastrarth, a debate with Dandavad with this saint. He said, okay, bring him on. So people warned him, no, don't get into an argument with this guy. Okay, he defeats everybody with his logic and stuff. Like, he said, no, bring it on. He brings on, he said, I tell you, there is no God. So this guy looks back at him. He said, wow, wonderful, and goes and hugs him. And then say, but I say there is no God. You have to prove me there is God. And he says, wow, wonderful, and goes and hugs him again. Now there is no argument. And this guy says, what kind of a thing? You are not even putting across your point. He said, I'm just wondering, if you are so smart, so intelligent, then how smart and intelligent that person God would be who has created you. And that is what I'm wondering. There's no point in arguing. Somebody who's predisposed to thinking something, it's their journey. And the day they will understand, they will not even say these things. So they have to take their step. It's quite a silent treatment we have to give them. That's about it. I would get into a lot of arguments previously, not anymore. Even if I have a solid answer for that, I will not. For people who are a bit cynical about these things, because it can lead to namaprad. Those people will get more negative just to prove their point. and it doesn't help their spiritual journey. So to help them, you stay quiet. See what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Otherwise, they may
Yeah.
remain neutral that, okay, I proved my point, I'm good. But if they start getting negative towards God and his leelas, you're not helping their cause, right? They are digging a well for themselves, which is something we should stop them from doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nitinji. Well said. Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, if you can be that.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know 10, 15.
Yeah. What I want to say is almost covered by Nitinji and Seemaji. I just want to compare myself to a blind child who is born. Like usually a baby born will learn everything by seeing and hearing. But a blind child will have little difficulty because there's no vision to capture the things. So I compare like we are in the journey like that kid without the vision of the God. But with a good tuning, with training, her mother gives the touch, the hearing, and all the things and makes an impression in the mind. So it opens like the eye of the mind and we can capture and perceive the things all around. So I just compare the same thing. A God is everywhere, though we can't see. I can with sadhana or chanting or whatever thing toward the spiritual journey, we can perceive the things as the time goes on. Thank
Very
you.
true. It will happen. Trust me, it will happen. That even if you'll start getting abhas for sure when you start putting in spiritual practice, even though it is not perfect, okay, to begin with, it will happen. All right, are we done or do we? Pallavi?
Yes. Is there Padmaji? Please go ahead. Yeah.
I'll make this really quick. From my own perspective, not on the spirituality aspect, there is always skepticism, whether it is a baby or whether it's us, right? There is always this skepticism, and for many years, I tackled it differently. But lately, for many years, for almost like 10 years, I tackle it differently, like on a day-to-day basis. Like even with school students that I have, they come with the skepticism, and I say I completely positively take your skepticism, but I'm not convinced. So you have to give me that evidence and prove to me that your skepticism is right. Because in the hindsight, I know God exists. But if I tell an ignorant person that God exists, where he's not in that state of mind to believe me and even convince his own belief, I'm giving him that liberty to prove to me that he doesn't exist. So what happens in that path, and I use this in my classroom also, it gives them a room to challenge me. And then in the path where they're going, they will do their own research. And that goes back to the principle number 2, which is even if you attach the divine sentiment to the materialistic thing, a small example that I can give them, when you give something in charity, maybe you're not used to giving a charity, but once you give, the first time that you give a charity, the kind of emotion and the experience that you feel, you know what, this is so great, that gives them an opportunity to experience what they have never experienced before. And I think many times what happens is they themselves have not given that opportunity, and the situation has not come that they give themselves an opportunity to experience the divinely things that one can do. And when you can present that situation for them by accepting that they are right, but at the same time, in the hindsight that they will find their own path and eventually find that God that you found, you're giving them that liberation and the path to take them where you are supposed to take them, which is what you're doing. The spiritual dharma that you have to do for the other person is show them the divine path, but don't force them the divine path, is how I see it. How can I spin this situation and see what is my dharma to that situation? That's what I wanted to share.
Great. That's a great way of making somebody learn. Lead them and let them find answers for themselves. You can facilitate that process and act as a catalyst as opposed to forcing something. It will never work for sure. Right? I was forced a lot of religiosity early on in my life. I refused. Okay, I don't know what I was doing, but it happens at your own pace when things start falling in place. So very true. Wonderful. Tomorrow we're going to discuss about Maya. Don't miss out on that topic. This whole Maya which is troubling us. Okay, why God doesn't just release us from the shackle? End of the day, it's his energy only, right? We'll talk about this topic. We'll do our closing prayers then. Pallavi?
Yeah, I see one more hand raised. If I can see, Sunilji can make it quick, Sunilji.
Yeah. Nitin, you covered it. What we can offer to God is only a tears of gratitude, a thank you. That's all what we can do. Everything else is his. Even this is his. Yeah, that's all.
Beautiful point. Yeah, we don't have anything to offer other than giving us our part of our heart, in form of love for sure.
True.
Great, and express our willingness to serve him. That's all. Our intent is all he needs from us, basically, and wonders can happen after that. Okay, let's do our closing prayer for the day. Thank you again for
great discussion. Yeah, I can unmute everyone.
All right, fingers crossed. Let's get started. Let me share the screen. I got that feedback that if we pull it up on screen, it might help. So let's do that.
Yeah, all can unmute themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. See you tomorrow.
Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Thank you, Nitin. It's a wonderful discussion.
See you tomorrow.
Everyone have a blessed day. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.